Close your eyes and let the night take you in. The world outside grows quiet, and within you, ancient echoes begin to stir. Stories of forgotten cults, of women once honored as divine, drift across time like soft winds over desert sands. These voices are not lost. They move like rivers beneath the surface of history, symbols of healing, of mystery, of spirit. Tonight, we will walk gently among them, listening as their wisdom rises once more, like starlight reflected on still waters. So, let us drift together into the tender embrace of these ancient tales. Allow each word to calm your breath, each image to soothe your heart. If these stories bring you peace tonight, feel free to subscribe so you can return whenever you need gentle rest. And if you'd like, share in the comments where you're listening from. It's beautiful to see how these voices reach across the world. The night is quiet now. The air is soft, like velvet against the skin. Somewhere far away, a candle burns, and its light flickers gently, stretching across the walls of memory. You drift into this space where silence becomes a doorway. Every breath feels slower, deeper, as though the world itself is exhaling beside you. It is here, in this gentle darkness, that the whispers of forgotten goddesses rise again. Long ago, in hidden groves where the trees bent close like guardians, women were honored as more than mortal. They were seen as bridges between earth and sky, between body and spirit. Their presence was felt in the rustle of leaves, in the rhythm of tides, in the glow of stars that guided the night traveler. The people who gathered in those sacred places did not see them as far away. They felt them close, like breath on the wind, like water on the tongue. They carried their names in song, soft chants that rolled like rivers, calming the heart and soothing the soul. Now their temples are quiet. Their statues lie broken, their names faded on stone. But their whispers remain, drifting through the ages like a song you almost remember. Imagine walking into one of those groves. The earth is damp beneath your feet, rich with the scent of moss and roots. Above you, the sky glows with 100 quiet stars. The air carries the hum of insects and the distant call of night birds. At the center stands a stone altar, weathered by centuries of rain and sun. Around it, women once sang prayers to the goddess of fertility, of harvest, of healing. They placed flowers at her feet, poured honey and milk as offerings, and asked for her blessing. The symbols of her presence still linger. Circles carved into rock, spirals etched in clay, patterns that speak of cycles, birth, growth, death, and return. Each mark was more than art. It was a promise that life always renews itself, that nothing truly ends. One goddess was known as the Mother of the Earth. Her body was imagined as the soil itself, her breath as the wind, her tears as rivers. When seeds were placed in the ground, they were believed to rest in her womb, safe until the time was right to rise. Every harvest was a gift from her hands. Another was seen in the moon. Her silver face rose above the horizon each night, gentle and constant. She was thought to watch over travelers, healers, and mothers. The waxing and waning of her light was a reminder that life moves in rhythms, always returning, always flowing. There were also goddesses of protection who guarded the threshold between life and death. When a soul drifted into the unknown, they stood as guides, carrying light into the shadowed places. They were not feared, but welcomed as companions who softened the journey. These women of spirit lived in the heart of memory, and though their names are now faint, the symbols they carried still shine. The circle remains in the sun and the moon. The spiral remains in shells and in galaxies. The water still flows with healing. The fire still warms and transforms. You can feel their presence when you sit beneath a tree, when you watch a river move, when you listen to the rhythm of your own breath, for the divine is never lost. It only changes its form, whispering in ways that invite you to be still and listen. Imagine the chants that once rose into the night air, soft, low tones carried like lullabies. The people sang not to awaken the gods, but to awaken themselves, to feel the thread that connects all life. The goddesses were symbols, mirrors of the strength and tenderness already within each heart. Their voices were like rivers, flowing endlessly, never the same, yet always familiar. Their hands were like the earth, steady, holding, nurturing. Their eyes were like the stars, silent, watching, guiding. And in the quiet, they spoke not with words but with presence. a presence that said, "You are part of this great circle. You belong. You are held." The forgotten does not mean the vanished. Like seeds lying in the dark soil, the memory of these goddesses waits. Each time you hear the wind move through the trees, each time you touch cool water, each time you lift your gaze to the moon, they stir again. Their temples may be ruins, but their sanctuary is the earth itself. Every river is a shrine. Every mountain is an altar. Every heart that longs for peace is their prayer. Now picture a gathering under the night sky. Torches flicker, their flames bending with the breeze. Men, women, and children stand together, hands joined, voices rising in a soft hymn. At the center, a priestess pours oil into the fire. The flames leap and sparks rise like stars set free. She speaks of the goddess not as distant, but as present, in the warmth of the fire, in the taste of the bread, in the safety of the circle. The people close their eyes, and for a moment, the world feels whole, complete, unbroken. That is how the divine was known, not through fear, but through belonging, not through command, but through comfort. A whisper that said, "Life is sacred, and so are you." And now, as you drift deeper into this story, let those whispers move around you. They are not loud, not insistent. They are as soft as the tide on the shore, as gentle as a mother's touch. They remind you that healing is always near, carried in symbols older than memory. The circle that never ends, the fire that always glows, the water that always flows, the earth that always holds. These are the gifts of the forgotten goddesses, carried quietly through time, now resting here in your heart. Let the night grow deeper. Let your breath grow slower. Imagine the stars above as crowns worn by ancient queens of the sky. Imagine the earth below as the cradle of life, steady and kind. You are safe in their memory. You are held in their light. And as sleep begins to weave its gentle veil, the whispers of the goddesses will move with you, guiding you into dream. Now rest as the stars return. Now drift as the ancient voices fade into silence. The whispers remain, soft as breath, eternal as the night. The night has deepened. The air is cool and still, touched by the silver glow of the moon. Above, the stars rest in quiet constellations, watching with patient light. Below, the earth exhales softly as though it too is drifting into dream. You find yourself walking through this calm darkness. The path beneath you is soft with dust, shaped by many footsteps long ago. The silence is not empty. It hums with memory, with voices once lifted in chant. And soon, you arrive at a place where time seems to pause. Here, in the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, the moon priestesses once gathered. Their temples rose like gentle towers, their walls built of stone that caught the silver of the night sky. By day they were quiet places of learning and healing. By night they glowed with firelight, echoing with song and soft ritual. The priestesses moved like shadows, their bodies wrapped in flowing veils. The fabric shimmered faintly under the moon, catching every breath of wind. They walked with measured steps as if their feet followed the rhythm of unseen drums. Each movement was an offering, each gesture a prayer. The people who came to them believed the moon carried the mysteries of life. Her waxing light spoke of growth and hope. Her waning light reminded them of rest and release. Her full face shone as a symbol of wholeness, balance, and renewal. The priestesses lived in harmony with these cycles. When the moon grew bright, they led songs of blessing. When the moon dimmed, they offered prayers of letting go. Their lives were woven with the sky, like threads in a vast, shining tapestry. Imagine standing among them on a warm night. The courtyard is open to the heavens. Torches glow at the edges, but the true light comes from above. The moon hangs heavy, a silver coin suspended in darkness. The air carries the scent of incense, sweet, woody, calming. The women raise their arms, palms open to the sky. Their voices rise, soft at first, then stronger, like the swell of a river. The chant has no harshness. It flows, it circles, it soothes. Every note seems to brush against your skin like silk. The sound drifts upward, carried to the moon as if on invisible wings. Those listening below feel it too. The vibration enters their bodies, steadying their breath, easing their hearts. Healing is not only in words, but in the sound itself, in the way it moves like water through the spirit. Symbols of the moon were everywhere in their sacred places. Circles carved into stone, spirals painted on walls, silver bowls filled with water that reflected the sky above. The bowl was more than a vessel. It was a mirror of the heavens. To gaze into it was to see not only the moon, but also one's own face. In that reflection, People felt their lives as part of a larger rhythm, never alone, never forgotten. The priestesses guided them gently. They taught that the moon, like the soul, has many faces, sometimes bright and full, sometimes hidden and dark, but always present, always moving, always returning. At times, the priestesses would weave veils between columns of the temple. The fabric caught the moonlight, glowing with a ghostly shimmer. They would step behind these veils, their figures half hidden, half seen. It was a reminder that mystery is part of the sacred, that not all things need to be revealed. The people watched in stillness. The slow dance, the movement of light and shadow spoke to something deep inside them. It was not about spectacle, but about quiet transformation. Like the moon itself, the rituals whispered of change, gentle, steady, eternal. The priestesses were also healers. They tended to the sick with herbs gathered under moonlight, believing the plants carried the night's cool blessing. They listened to dreams, offering guidance from symbols that rose in sleep. They spoke not with command, but with calm assurance, like the steady pull of tides. Some believed the moonlight itself could heal. The priestesses would guide people to sit in silence beneath the full moon. There, with closed eyes and open hearts, they felt the silver glow wash over them. It was said to cleanse sorrow, to soften fear, to restore a sense of belonging. Healing was not only of the body, but of the spirit. It was the reminder that every life, like the moon, moves in cycles, that no darkness lasts forever, that light always returns. Now imagine the sound of distant drums, soft and slow, echoing like a heartbeat. The priestesses step in rhythm, their veils flowing with each movement. Their voices rise and fall, weaving with the steady beat. The chant becomes a tide pulling you deeper into calm. The fire crackles. The moon shines brighter. The stars shimmer in silence. Everything feels connected. The earth below, the sky above, and the soul resting in between. You breathe in. You breathe out. The rhythm carries you. The stillness holds you. The people of those nights believed the moon priestesses carried messages from the heavens. They were not rulers, not warriors, but bridges. Their gift was presence, their power was gentleness. They helped others see what was already within, the light, the rhythm, the unbroken circle. Their veils were not barriers, but symbols. They reminded all who watched that the divine is both near and mysterious. That beauty is not in what is fully seen, but in what is softly revealed, little by little, like the phases of the moon. Though the centuries have passed, their whispers remain. You can feel them when you stand beneath the moon on a clear night. You can hear them when the wind carries a distant rhythm. You can sense them in your own breath, rising and falling like tides within you. The veils may be gone, the temples may be dust, but the memory is alive in the sky itself. Every time the moon glows, she carries their presence. Every cycle, every shadow, every glow is part of the same eternal dance. And now, as you drift deeper into rest, imagine those priestesses surrounding you. Their veils move gently in the night breeze. Their voices rise in soft chant, wrapping you in layers of calm. Their hands lift toward the moon, offering not words but peace. You are safe in their circle. You are steady in their rhythm. You are part of the same cycle, timeless and whole. The night will carry you. The moon will guide you. The stars will watch with gentle eyes. Let the sound of their song fade slowly, like waves retreating from the shore. Let the glow of their torches dim until only the silver moon remains. Let your breath soften, like wind through quiet fields. Now rest as the veils fall into stillness. Now dream as the moonlight covers you. Now drift onward as the priestesses return to silence. The night is yours. The calm is yours. The whispers remain. The night is still. The stars rest quietly above, scattered like seeds across a field of darkness. The air carries a gentle weight, cool and steady, as though it wishes to lull all things into silence. You walk along this hush, drifting deeper into the dream world, where symbols rise like soft waves from the depths of memory. In the distance, a shape moves. It is not hurried, not harsh. It glides, it weaves, it coils like smoke upon the wind. The serpent, not a creature of fear here, but of wonder, a symbol of mothers, of cycles, of life that sheds its skin and begins again. For many ancient peoples, the serpent was sacred. It was a teacher of renewal, of hidden wisdom. Its body moved close to the earth, reminding all that life is grounded, rooted in soil and stone. Yet it also shimmered with mystery, slipping into shadows, disappearing and reappearing, like the moon itself. The serpent mothers were worshipped in quiet temples and open fields. They were drawn upon clay, carved into stone, painted upon walls. To hold the image of the serpent was to hold a prayer of transformation, for the snake, unlike many creatures, carried the secret of rebirth within its very skin. Imagine a small village long ago. Night has fallen. The people gather around a fire, its glow spilling upon the earth. At the center, women chant softly, their voices weaving together like threads in a tapestry. Before them lies a simple carving, a coiled serpent, its body endless without beginning or end. The chant rises, steady and low, like the sound of water moving through a hidden cave. Each tone is a breath, each breath a prayer. The people close their eyes. They do not fear the serpent. They honor it, for they see in its form the promise of renewal. The shedding of skin was sacred to them. It meant that one life could fall away, and another could begin. The serpent mothers taught that pain, sorrow, and loss could also be shed, left behind like an old layer. In time, something new, something whole, would take its place. The people held this belief close when they buried their dead. They would place serpent symbols near the body, carved in stone or drawn upon pottery. It was not to frighten the soul, but to comfort it, reminding the spirit that death was not the end, but another shedding. A new skin, a new life, a new path. In many stories, the serpent was also linked to the earth itself. Its body wound through rivers, its breath moved with the winds, its presence curled within the roots of trees. Some saw the great serpent as mother of waters, bringing fertility to fields. Others saw her as a guardian, resting at the threshold of hidden mysteries. One tale spoke of a goddess who carried serpents in each hand, their bodies twined around her arms like living bracelets, their tongues flickering like small flames. She was known not as a destroyer, but as a nurturer, strong and protective. The serpents were her children, and through them she held the power of both life and death. The serpent's form was also tied to circles, curved, coiling, endless. In some places it was drawn biting its own tail, a ring of eternity. This symbol whispered of cycles that never end. The sun rises, the sun sets. The moon waxes, the moon wanes. Life falls, life rises again. To look upon that circle was to be reminded that nothing is lost. Everything turns, everything returns. What seems to end is only beginning again, in another form, in another time. The serpent mothers held this truth, gently, like a lullaby passed down through generations. Picture yourself in one of their sanctuaries. The walls are cool, carved with spirals that catch the flicker of firelight. In the center lies a great serpent image, polished by countless hands that have touched it in prayer. The air is thick with incense, earthy, calming, a blend of herbs gathered under moonlight. The priestess enters. Her steps are slow, her robe brushing against the stone floor. She carries a vessel of water, shimmering with reflected fire. She pours it upon the earth before the serpent, a gift of life returning to life. Then she raises her arms. Her voice is low, steady, like the murmur of a river. She speaks not to command, but to invite. Her words are simple. Renew, restore, return. The people listening feel the words enter their hearts. Each breath feels lighter. Each thought softens like soil after rain. They remember their own seasons of shedding, times of letting go, times of beginning again. The serpent becomes not a creature outside, but a mirror within. Every heart carries its own coil, its own circle of change. Every soul knows how to shed and renew. The serpent mothers remind them of this truth, gently, without fear. In dreams, the serpent often appeared as a guide, sliding across the earth, leading the dreamer to water, to caves, to hidden wisdom. The movement was never hurried, never harsh, always flowing, always patient, like the rhythms of the breath, like the turning of the seasons. Those who woke from such dreams often felt peace. They knew the serpent had spoken, though without words. It had shown them that the path of life winds and curves, but always leads onward. No step is wasted, no turn is meaningless. Every coil carries you closer to wholeness. The serpent mothers were also symbols of power, but not the loud kind. Their strength was quiet, enduring, rooted. They were protectors of the weak, guardians of the sacred. To call upon them was to call upon courage, the courage to change, the courage to heal. And so, women wore small serpent charms upon their bodies. They wove serpent shapes into their jewelry, their clothing, their songs. Each mark was a prayer. Each coil was a blessing. Each image was a reminder that life was always moving, always flowing. As you drift deeper into this story, you too may feel the gentle presence of the serpent mothers, not as a threat but as a comfort. Their coils wrap not to bind, but to protect. Their movement does not hurry you, but carries you slowly, steadily, into calm. The serpent teaches patience. The serpent teaches release. The serpent teaches that change is not loss, but renewal. And the mothers of the serpent hold you in that truth, soft as night, steady as earth. Now the firelight fades, the chants grow quiet. The serpent upon the altar glows faintly in the darkness, as if alive with memory. The air cools, and the stars above shine with patient calm. Let the coils of the serpent cradle you. Let the circle of eternity hold you. Let the whispers of the mothers soothe you. Like a lullaby sung across time, you are safe in their presence. You are steady in their rhythm. You are part of the endless circle, the shedding and renewing, the rising and returning. Now rest as the serpent curls into silence. Now drift as the mothers close their eyes. Now dream as the stars return. The night is whole. The circle is unbroken. The whispers remain. The tide is gentle tonight. The moon leans low upon the water, silver spilling across each rolling wave. The sound is steady, like a heartbeat stretched wide. You stand upon a shore that belongs to no one and to everyone, an ancient coast where time moves softly, as though it too were lulled by the sea. The sand beneath your feet is cool, smoothed by centuries of tides. The wind carries the scent of salt and wild herbs, drifting in from the hills beyond. The air is vast here. It holds both silence and song, the hush of the waves and the distant call of seabirds that glide upon the horizon. Far ahead, rising from stone and spray, stand the temples by the sea. Their pillars catch the moonlight, worn by salt, weather, and prayer. They do not stand proud or harsh. They stand as though they have grown from the earth itself, rooted deep into rock, their arches curved like waves frozen in stone. Long ago, these temples belonged to the mothers of the tide. Women kept the sacred spaces, tending the fires that never fully dimmed. They were the keepers of fertility, the guardians of renewal. They knew the secret language of the ocean, its endless ebb and flow. Each morning, they would rise with the first light, walking barefoot into the surf. They would cup the water in their hands, lift it to the sky, and let it fall back, shimmering. In this act was a prayer, a remembering that all life rises from the sea, all things nourished by its depth. The people came to them for blessings. Farmers asked for fertile fields, sailors asked for safe passage, mothers asked for strong children, and elders asked for peaceful rest. The ocean gave to all, and the women of the sea temples listened, carrying each wish upon their lips, whispering them into the waves. Imagine the temple on a night like this. Lanterns flicker along the steps. Their glow paints soft gold across the stone. The sound of the waves drifts through every chamber, like the breath of a sleeping giant. Inside, the air is cool and rich with the smell of oil lamps and wildflowers left as offerings. At the center stands the altar, smooth with time, polished by countless hands. Upon it rests a shell as wide as a bowl, filled with water drawn from the tide. It reflects the lantern light in trembling silver, always moving, never still, for the sea, they believed, never truly rests. It is always carrying, always birthing, always returning. The women of the temple were seen as midwives of the world. They did not only tend to children born of mothers, but to crops, to journeys, to dreams. They taught that every beginning is a birth, and every ending a return to the waters. When a child was born, the first drops of ocean water were touched to the child's lips. When a ship left the harbor, a priestess cast petals into the tide, guiding it like a prayer upon the waves. When the old left this world, their bodies were carried down to the shore, so the tide might embrace them one last time. In all things, the sea was present, a circle of beginnings and endings that flowed without cease. There is a story told of one such priestess, her name lost to time, her memory carried only in whispers of song. She was known for walking into the waves each night until the water reached her waist. There she would stand, speaking softly, her words vanishing into foam. People said she was not only praying to the sea, but listening. And one evening they said, the sea answered, not in words, not in thunder, but in a sudden calm, as though the entire ocean had taken a single long breath. She returned to the shore with tears in her eyes, telling the people that the sea had promised them safety, that storms would pass them by. And for many years, no storm came near. The ocean was not seen as cruel here. It was seen as motherly, vast and unending, powerful yet tender. Her tides were likened to the breath of a sleeping woman, steady and sure. Her waves were her arms, rocking the world gently, sometimes firmly, but never without purpose. The women of the temples sang to her. Their voices rose in tones as soft as mist, weaving into one another, drifting upward and outward until they mingled with the crash of waves. Sometimes the people would sit along the shore, listening. The song and the sea blended so seamlessly that no one could tell where human sound ended and ocean sound began. It was said that if you closed your eyes during those chants, you would feel as though you were floating, carried between earth and water, body and spirit, beginning and end. The temples by the sea were not made to last forever. They were built of stone, but the salt winds and tides wore them away. Yet this too was part of their lesson. Nothing lasts untouched. Everything yields, everything returns. Just as cliffs crumble into sand, and sand drifts back into the waves, so too do lives flow into one another. Never gone, always reshaped. And so the crumbling walls were not seen as ruins, but as offerings. The sea would one day take back the temples, stone by stone, and when that day came, the people believed. New temples would rise elsewhere, just as the tide always returns. Picture now the sound of those waves, steady, repeating, endless. Each one curls forward, then sighs back. Each one carries the memory of all that has ever been, each one carrying it forward, again and again. The moon glows upon the water, silver weaving with black, shifting with every swell. The temple lanterns flicker, their flames bending toward the wind, yet never extinguishing. The chants are faint now, almost indistinguishable from the tide. You sit upon the shore. Your breath slows, finding the same rhythm as the sea. Inhale with the pull of the water, exhale with its retreat. The ocean cradles you, even from afar, steady as eternity. The sea is creation. The sea is renewal. The sea is the mother whose arms never tire, whose embrace never ends. The women who kept the temples knew this truth, and they lived it gently. They were not rulers. They were not warriors. They were keepers of rhythm, guardians of balance, midwives of the world. And their voices, though centuries have passed, still linger in the air. When you hear the tide, you hear them. When you smell the salt, you smell their offerings. When you feel the cool night breeze, you feel their presence moving softly across your skin. Now the night deepens. The stars settle into their places. The moon climbs higher, drawing the tide slowly with her. The temple walls glisten with mist, their stones whispering of prayers long past. Let the sound of the waves carry you now. Let the tide lift your thoughts, then set them gently down again. Let the voices of the Sea Temple mothers drift through you like lullabies sung across centuries. The ocean does not rush. The ocean does not fail. The ocean holds, releases, and holds again, and so may you be held, and so may you rest. Now sleep as the sea folds into silence. Now drift as the tide rocks you gently. Now dream as the temples glow beneath the moon. The shore is eternal. The song is unbroken. The night is whole. The night is calm. The stars spread wide, like scattered embers across the heavens. The air is cool, carrying the faint sound of wind moving through distant hills. And here, in the heart of the ancient world, a soft glow rises. It is not the glow of moonlight. It is not the shimmer of water. It is the living flame of a temple fire. The flame breathes, steady and slow. It has been burning longer than anyone can remember. It has no beginning in memory, and it knows no end. It flickers in the stillness, never loud, never wild, but steady, like a heartbeat. Stone walls surround it, tall and sheltering, holding the fire as though the earth itself has cupped it in her hands. This is the sanctuary of the fire keepers. Women have walked these halls for countless generations, tending the flame, keeping it alive through every season. They did not see the fire as simple light. They saw it as the spirit of life itself, a thread that connected all people, all creatures, all worlds. Each dawn, before the sky turned bright, the keepers rose in silence. Their steps were bare against the stone floors. Their robes flowed softly, brushing against the ground like whispers. They approached the fire with reverence, carrying fresh wood, carrying oil, carrying breath. To them, tending the flame was more than duty. It was devotion, a living prayer. The fire spoke in its own language. It crackled gently, as though it remembered every prayer whispered into its glow. It hissed when touched with oil, as though sighing at the gift. It danced, bending low when the wind entered, then rising tall when the room grew still again. The women understood its moods, for they had watched it all their lives. Children born to the temple often grew up within the circle of firelight. Their first lullabies were sung to the rhythm of crackling wood. Their first dreams unfolded under the soft flicker of flames on the walls. And when they grew, they too took their turn tending the sacred hearth, passing on the knowledge of care and patience, of warmth and watchfulness. To the people, the eternal flame was more than a symbol. It was life made visible. As long as the fire burned, they believed the land would be safe, the harvest would return, and the seasons would turn in their right order. If the fire were to ever go out, it would be as if the breath of the world had ceased. So the firekeepers held their task with steady hearts, never allowing the light to fail. There are stories told of how far the flame's presence reached. Sailors at sea said they could feel its warmth when they prayed to the winds. Farmers said their fields grew greener when the smoke from the temple chimney touched the sky. Mothers said their children slept soundly when they placed a coal from the fire near the doorway. The flame was not seen as confined to the stone sanctuary. It was seen as a thread, reaching outward, tying together every life it touched. On certain nights, when the moon hung full and clear, the women would gather in a circle around the hearth. They did not speak in words. Instead, they hummed, a low sound that rose like smoke. Their voices intertwined, soft and steady, carrying no sharpness, only calm. The sound blended with the crackle of fire until the chamber seemed to breathe as one living body. The people believed the fire was not only tended but nourished by these voices, that each hum carried with it strength, memory, and love, feeding the flame so that it never grew weary. And in return, the fire nourished them. It warmed their bones, lit their dreams, and reminded them of the light that waits in every heart. There is a tale, still told in quiet corners, of one night when a storm raged across the land. The wind howled against the temple walls. The rain poured, fierce and unyielding. The people feared the fire might die, drowned or smothered by the storm's fury. But the women of the temple did not tremble. They stood around the flame, shielding it with their bodies, their robes heavy with rain. They sang, their voices rising against the roar of thunder. And though the storm shook the earth, the fire did not falter. When dawn came, the clouds broke, and the flame was still burning, bright as ever. From that day on, the people said the fire was not only eternal but invincible, for it was guarded by devotion stronger than storm. Imagine now the chamber of the fire keepers. The walls are dark stone, cool to the touch. The air carries the faint smell of smoke and resin. The flame sits at the center, soft and steady, its glow painting gold upon the faces of those who sit nearby. Shadows move gently across the walls, slow and graceful, like dancers frozen in time. The silence is not empty. It is full, alive with the warmth of the fire's breath. You sit near the hearth, feeling its glow upon your skin, soft as a blanket, gentle as a mother's hand. Outside, the night deepens, but here the fire is constant. It does not fade when the stars fade. It does not sleep when the world sleeps. It is always there, steady and alive, reminding you that light endures. The keepers taught that the flame inside the temple was a mirror of the flame inside the heart. Every person carried their own spark, their own light. Sometimes it flickered, sometimes it dimmed, but it was never truly gone. And just as the eternal fire was tended with care, so too could each soul be tended, with patience, with love, with devotion. The flame was also seen as a passage, a bridge between worlds. Its smoke carried prayers upward. Its glow welcomed spirits near. It connected the living to the unseen, the present to the eternal. To sit before it was to sit in the company of all who had come before and all who would come after. As the centuries passed, temples rose and fell, empires shifted, kings and queens came and went, but still, in some quiet sanctuary, a flame was kept alive by devoted hands. For as long as people remembered the fire remembered them. Even now, when you hear the crackle of wood, when you see the glow of a candle in the dark, when you feel warmth against the cold, you are touching that same memory. It lingers, it travels, It lives on in every light that burns. The night outside grows quieter still. The stars hang like soft lanterns above the earth. The fire hums, patient and endless. Its glow is steady, its warmth unbroken. Let the rhythm of the flame calm you now. Let its steady flicker mirror your breath, gentle and even. Inhale as the fire rises, exhale as it softens. The flame cradles your thoughts, easing them into stillness. It watches without judgment. It warms without demand. It simply is. Now the women of the temple rest. Their chants fade into silence. Their robes fall still. But the fire keeps breathing, faithful and quiet. May its glow follow you into dreams. May its warmth hold you through the night. May its light remind you that all things continue, that nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. Let us drift onward, carried by the flame's steady glow. Now rest as the stars return to their watch. Now sleep as the eternal fire keeps burning, quiet and sure within the temple of your heart. The night is gentle. A hush lies over the world, like a blanket of silver mist. Above, stars glow softly, patient and kind. Below, shadows rest upon quiet stones, upon gardens long forgotten, upon temples that breathe stillness. And in that stillness you hear the wings, a faint flutter, the softest stirring of air. Doves, pale as moonlight, drift from the silence. Their feathers catch the starlight like pearls in motion, their song no louder than a whisper of breath. They come not to startle but to soothe. They come carrying stories as old as the first song sung beneath the heavens. The dove has always been a gentle messenger. In many lands, in many times, people looked to this bird and saw peace made visible. Among the sacred groves of Cyprus, they belonged to the goddess Aphrodite. Priestesses told of how the doves circled her altars, their cooing echoing like prayers. To see them descend upon a temple was to feel love's blessing. For in their still flight, there was no fear, no storm, only a promise of warmth and kindness. In the quiet sanctuaries, women placed small bowls of grain, knowing the doves would come. To feed them was a gift, a sharing of spirit, and as the wings beat gently overhead, it was said that hearts could be healed. Sorrow became lighter, anger became softer, and love became possible again. You drift deeper into the dream. You see a young woman kneeling in a stone courtyard. Her hands are filled with seeds. The night is cool. The torches glow low, and around her, doves descend. They are not afraid of her presence. They come close, brushing her skin with soft wings. She closes her eyes, and her breathing slows. Every sound becomes a lullaby. The cooing of the birds, the rustling of feathers, the gentle crackle of firewood. She has lost someone dear, yet in this moment, she feels less alone. For the doves carry whispers of comfort, as though they bring voices from another world. They remind her that love does not vanish. It changes form, but it continues. Always it continues. Far from Greece, in the lands of Mesopotamia, doves belonged to Inanna, the radiant goddess of love and renewal. Her temples were draped with carvings of their wings, her altars marked by their presence. To watch them rise from the fields was to remember that tenderness lived within the earth itself. The grain grew, the rivers flowed, and the doves circled overhead, binding all things together. The same symbol crossed deserts and seas. In the sacred tales of Canaan and Phoenicia, the goddess Astarte was seen with doves at her side. Always love was shown through wings of peace. The people knew, when hearts were troubled, when storms raged within, one needed only to remember the dove. Its soft flight was enough to remind them that peace is possible, even in times of sorrow. The story drifts onward. You find yourself in a grove of olive trees. The leaves shimmer silver beneath the moon. A single dove lands on a branch carrying a sprig in its beak. This image, known in many lands, spoke of hope. It was a sign that storms had ended, that calm waters had returned. The bird carried with it renewal, a quiet beginning after all had been washed away. How gentle the world must have felt when people first saw that sign. The soft body of a dove, the tender green of a branch, the promise of rest after chaos. It was not thunder or fire that healed them. It was wings, small and white, carrying a message of peace. As you breathe slowly, you notice how the dove mirrors the soul. It does not rush. It glides unhurried from one resting place to another. It trusts the air, it trusts the earth, it trusts the sky. Even in silence it sings of gentleness. So too did the ancients teach, that love is not always thunderous. Sometimes it is quiet as feathers, light as a sigh. Love heals not by force but by presence. It waits, it comforts, it rests with you until you are ready to rise again. In Egypt, doves were linked to Isis, the mother who gathered the broken pieces of life. Her touch was said to mend, her arms said to hold all who grieved. The bird became her symbol of watchfulness, always circling, always near. No matter the sorrow, no matter the pain, the dove returned, reminding her children that healing is always possible. Imagine standing by the Nile at dusk. The air is warm, the water glows gold, and above, doves drift in gentle arcs. Each wing beat is slow, rhythmic, like a heart calming after weeping. Their song carries across the reeds. It is soft but steady, and in that sound, the world feels whole again. The chapter unfolds like a long breath. The dove appears again and again, over temples, rivers, gardens, and tombs. It ties together many peoples and many prayers. Aphrodite, Inanna, Astarte, Isis, all reflected in the same white wings. Different lands, different names, yet the same truth repeated, that love is eternal, that tenderness heals, that peace can always be found. The ancients understood what the dove carried. It was not only a symbol, it was a teacher, a reminder to breathe softly, to walk gently, to treat others with care. When the bird landed nearby, people did not chase it. They opened their hands and let it come close. You rest deeper now. The wings of the story close around you like a blanket. The soft cooing lingers, like distant lullabies sung through stone corridors. Somewhere in the night, a flame still glows on a forgotten altar, and the doves still circle above it. They circle not for the temple, not for the priestess, not for the goddess alone. They circle for you, too. For within every heart, there is a need for gentleness, a need for comfort, a need to know that love will not abandon us, even when night is long. So let the doves rest near you now. Feel their presence in the rhythm of your breath, in the softness of your pillow, in the warmth that surrounds you. They are not far. They never were. And as the stars shift, as the night deepens, let them carry you into healing dreams. Love waits there. Peace waits there. The wings of the dove will guide you. Now rest. As the doves return to the silence, let us drift onward into softer realms, where love and healing shine as quietly as the moon. The night stretches wide. The air is still and dry, carrying the faint scent of sand. Above, stars spill like silver dust, endless and patient. The desert lies in silence, its dunes resting like sleeping giants. Every grain of sand seems to hold memory, ancient and deep. In this quiet, a soft wind begins to move. It brushes across the dunes carrying whispers, whispers of voices, low and clear, once spoken beneath the same stars. Voices of the desert oracles, women who carried messages not their own, but drawn from mystery. They listened to the silence, and from silence, they gave words. The desert has always been a place of listening. There are no walls, no rivers, no forests to distract the heart. Only wide horizons, endless skies, and the slow breath of the earth itself. Those who came here did not come for noise. They came to hear what was hidden, to hear what the Spirit wished to say. In these lands, oracles were keepers of stillness. Some sat beneath tents made of cloth and poles, a lamp glowing dimly beside them. Others stood upon high rocks, robes flowing with the wind. When seekers came, the oracle did not rush. She would close her eyes. She would listen first to the desert, the wind, the stars, the stillness. And then, slowly, her voice would rise, carrying words that soothed, guided, and healed. You drift deeper, imagining one such night. A traveler approaches, weary from the long road. His sandals are heavy with dust, his lips dry, his heart uncertain. He has carried questions with him, questions that burden his sleep. He kneels before the oracle, who sits in shadow, her face calm as moonlight. She says nothing at first, only silence. The traveler feels the weight of the desert itself pressing around them, vast and watchful. Then, as the stars grow brighter overhead, she speaks. Her words are not answers, not in the way he expected. They are like water dropped into dry hands, simple, clear, but enough. Her voice reminds him of what he already knows, and in that reminder, he feels lighter. The ancients believed that the desert sharpened vision. In the emptiness, the mind could wander farther. Dreams came more clearly. Voices from unseen realms carried more easily. The women who spoke in these places were not only guides, but bridges. They carried messages across the thin veil between silence and sound. Some heard visions in the flight of birds. A falcon's circle above the dunes could mean triumph. A dove's gentle descent could mean peace. Others listened to the shifting sand. When the wind shaped dunes into flowing curves, the oracle read them like letters. Every ripple, every shadow became a message from the unseen. You walk through this story as though in a dream. The sand is cool beneath your feet. The night sky above holds more stars than you can count, and ahead you hear a chorus of low voices, not loud, not demanding, just soft words, rising like smoke. It is a gathering of seekers seated around a circle of stones. At the center, an oracle chants, her eyes half closed, her face lifted toward the heavens. Her voice is steady like a heartbeat. It carries into the air, into the dunes, into the silence. The seekers listen, their heads bowed. They do not ask questions. They let the words fall like gentle rain. Each phrase carries a seed of peace, waiting to grow in the quiet soil of the heart. The desert has many names for wisdom. Some call it vision, others call it prophecy, others still call it listening. But the essence is the same. The oracle does not force meaning. She allows it. She lets it come like the slow rising of dawn, soft, inevitable, and kind. To those who were burdened, her words gave rest. To those who were lost, her words gave direction. To those who were broken, her words gave healing. Not by changing their lives in an instant, but by showing them how to breathe again. How to trust the road ahead, even if it wound through shadows. Imagine the night deepening further. The stars shift in slow arcs above the horizon. The fire in the oracle's circle fades to embers. Still her presence glows. Not with light, but with stillness. It is as if she herself has become part of the desert. Endless, open, patient. Her voice softens until it is no more than a whisper. The seekers close their eyes. Some lean upon the sand, letting their bodies rest. The desert cradles them like an ancient bed. The oracle speaks no more. Her silence is enough now. The silence itself is the teaching. In the distance, dunes stretch like waves, rolling into the horizon. You drift with them, your breath rising and falling as gently as the sand. The desert has no end, and in its endlessness, you feel calm. It asks nothing of you. It only invites you to rest, to listen, to be. The voices of the oracles linger.
They are not lost in time.
They are carried still in the hush of the wind, in the glow of the stars, in the rhythm of your own heartbeat. They remind you that wisdom is not hidden far away. It is close. It has always been close. Now the night draws you deeper into quiet. The oracles fade into shadow. The desert grows softer as though it too is falling asleep. Your eyes grow heavy. Your breath slows. The story folds around you like a warm cloak. The sands are still. The stars are patient. The voices have spoken. There is nothing more to seek, only rest. Let us drift onward into the silence of the dunes. Now rest as the stars return. Night folds itself gently around the earth. The air is still, touched by a cool hush. Above, stars hang quiet and clear like lanterns set in the sky. The ground beneath is warm, steady, timeless. Here in this quiet, the old symbols begin to stir. Symbols carved in stone, painted on clay, whispered in songs. Symbols of the womb, symbols of the earth. They rise softly in memory, glowing like embers. Not loud, not demanding, only present, like circles drawn in sand by a calm hand. Like spirals traced in river water by drifting leaves. They return to remind us of beginnings. They return to remind us of life. In the oldest temples, long before cities rose, women carved circles, simple shapes yet filled with meaning. The circle was the womb, the first cradle, the first shelter. It was the roundness of the belly that carried a child. It was the curve of the moon waxing and waning, holding time within its light. It was the earth itself, whole and patient, carrying all beings in her arms. Some carved spirals instead, endless curves that folded inward and out again. The spiral spoke of life's passage, birth, growth, return. It was the path of rivers, winding and flowing. It was the dance of the stars across the night sky. It was the curl of seeds waiting in silence before unfolding. To trace a spiral was to touch mystery. It was to remember that all things begin in stillness, move outward, and find their way back. The womb, like the earth, carried that rhythm. You drift deeper into this memory of stone and soil. Imagine a cave lit only by flickering fire. Shadows move gently across walls. On those walls are carved the old symbols, circles, spirals, flowing lines. The air is thick with the scent of earth, cool and steady. The cave feels like a body itself, a womb of stone holding all who enter. Within it, women gather. Their voices are low, soft as the hum of bees. They sing of the mother who is earth, who holds soil and seed, body and breath. Their song rises and falls with the rhythm of their breath. Each note echoes through the cave as though the earth herself were listening. The womb was not seen as separate from the land. The body of the woman, the body of the earth, both were sacred, both were fertile. The soil held seeds as the womb held children. Rain nourished fields as milk nourished the young. Rivers coursed through valleys like blood through veins. Mountains rose like bones. The earth was alive, and she carried life within her again and again. When people bent down to touch the ground, they were touching her skin. When they planted seeds, they were entrusting her womb. When they gathered harvest, they were receiving her gift. The carvings of circles and spirals were reminders of this bond. They said, "You are not apart. You are carried as the child is carried. You belong to the womb of the earth. You float now into a meadow beneath the moon. The grass sways in slow rhythm, like the breath of sleeping earth. At the center of the meadow stands a stone, tall and rounded, weathered by time. Its surface is carved with deep spirals, worn smooth by centuries of wind. People once gathered here to honor the life within life. They placed offerings, flowers, seeds, vessels of milk. They touched the stone with open palms, as if placing their hearts upon the spiral itself. The stone did not answer in words. It did not move. Yet it held them the way the earth holds roots, the way the womb holds life. Silent, patient, steady, through its spiral, it whispered that all things return. All things are carried. All things are loved. Stories grew around these symbols. Some spoke of the great mother who lived within the soil. She was both gentle and strong. She fed the fields and welcomed the rains. She cradled rivers in her arms, and in her silence she carried seeds until they were ready to rise. Others told of the womb as a sacred gate, the first passage where spirit takes body, the first doorway where breath meets air. It was not a place of fear, but of wonder, a reminder that each life was born not from nothing, but from love, from shelter, from the earth itself. You walk slowly along this path of memory. The night is deep but calm. Your steps fall lightly upon the soil, as though the ground itself were guiding you. Every tree you pass seems to breathe. Every hill curves like the softness of a body resting. The earth is alive all around you, and she is kind. Ahead, you see a circle of stones glowing under moonlight. They form a perfect round open to the sky. Within the circle, the air is still, like the quiet within a mother's heart. Here, seekers once came to remember the womb of the world. They sat upon the ground, eyes closed, hands placed upon their bellies. They listened to their breath. They listened to the heartbeat of the earth beneath them. In silence, they remembered they were children of soil and sky. The spiral, the circle, the womb, these are not only shapes, they are breaths. They are reminders. When traced with the finger, when seen upon stone, they calm the mind. They guide it back, inward, where rest waits. They guide it outward, forward, where hope grows. They show that life does not end. It folds, it returns, it begins again. The womb is the soil is the womb. To lie upon the earth is to lie within her arms. To close your eyes is to feel her cradling you. Like the seed, you are safe. Like the child, you are carried. Like the earth itself, you belong to a circle without end. Now, the night deepens further. The meadow grows softer, as though the stars are lowering their gaze. The carvings of spirals fade into dream, still glowing faintly in memory. The stones rest, silent guardians of life's secret. The earth hums beneath you, steady and kind. You breathe slowly. You are carried as the seed is carried. You are safe as the womb is safe. You are home as the earth is home. Let the spirals turn. Let the circles hold you. Let the earth cradle you like a mother holding her child. Now drift onward into the silence of soil and star. Now rest as the womb of the world returns. The night opens again, like a slow-moving curtain of velvet sky. The stars are steady, breathing in their own quiet rhythm. Far away, a lake rests in silence. Its waters are smooth, silvered by the touch of moonlight. On its surface, the reflections of trees bend softly like bowed heads in prayer. The air is cool, carrying only the faintest stir of wind, as if the world itself has fallen into deep listening. It is here, in this hushed place, that the story of the Swan Maidens unfolds. A story told not with sharp voices, but with the glide of wings, the shimmer of feathers, and the tender music of water. In ancient tales, across many lands, swan women appeared. Sometimes they stepped from forests, Sometimes they rose from hidden lakes. Always they carried the light of mystery with them. They were maidens cloaked in feathers, soft as drifting clouds. Their garments were not stitched with thread, but with the down of swans, white and glistening, as though woven from snow. When they wore these feather robes, they could move between worlds. They could glide across water, soar across sky, and vanish into hidden realms where no mortal steps could follow. But when they laid the garments down, when the robes of feathers touched the earth, they could walk as women, human, delicate, radiant, yet still carrying the quiet strength of something beyond. Close your eyes and picture them now. On the banks of a still lake, in the softest hours of night, a circle of swan maidens gathers. Their feet touch the grass, damp with dew. Their robes lie across their shoulders, yet for a moment they are unburdened, standing as women who belong both to earth and sky. They speak in whispers, voices like flowing water. Their laughter is quiet, almost like the rustle of reeds when the breeze passes. They bend, they dance, they move together in patterns that echo the spirals of stars above. And when the time comes, they take up their robes again. They slip into them as one slips into memory. At once their forms begin to shimmer, feathers catching the moonlight. With a gentle beat of wings, they rise, and the night accepts them. Across cultures, the swan maidens appear with many names. In northern lands, they are woven into the old sagas. In eastern tales, they appear as celestial bird women, gliding between clouds. In the soft valleys of Europe, they are remembered in fairy songs, always near rivers, always near the thresholds of dream. Though the stories change, one truth remains. They belong to the border places, where land touches water, where night touches dawn, where human hands reach toward the divine. The swan maidens carry the reminder that life is not fixed, but flowing. That the body is not only flesh, but also memory and spirit. That to change form is not to lose, but to unfold into another way of being. There is a tale of a traveler who once wandered into a forest at twilight. He followed the sound of wings until he came to a pool hidden in shadows. There he saw maidens stepping out of their feather cloaks. They bathed in the still water, their hair glimmering, their laughter soft as the falling dusk. The traveler watched in silence. He felt no fear, only a deep awe, as if he had stepped into a dream too delicate to break. But one maiden left her cloak upon the ground, nearer than the others. Drawn by wonder, the traveler picked it up. When the maidens turned to rise, all but one took flight. They soared into the sky, vanishing into the dark. But the one without her cloak remained. She looked upon the traveler with eyes of moonlit sorrow. So begins one of the old songs. A man keeps the feather robe of a swan maiden, and so she must stay by his side. She lives with him, walks as his wife, bears children of both worlds. But always, her heart longs for the sky. And one day, as all stories tell, she finds the robe again. She holds it to her chest. Her feathers gleam once more. She takes flight, and she does not return. This tale is not meant to be cruel. It is not meant to teach sorrow alone. It is a mirror of longing, the longing of the spirit to return home, the longing of freedom that no hand may hold forever. The swan maiden is not lost. She becomes what she always was, the feathered one, the glider of skies, the traveler between worlds. In some lands, the swan is seen as the soul itself. Its wings are purity, its neck is grace. Its call, though distant and haunting, carries the sound of eternity. To see a swan upon a lake is to see calmness and power joined as one. The still surface and the hidden strength beneath, the gentle floating and the strong heart that carries it, so too are the swan maidens. They remind us that within gentleness lies great strength, that within silence lies great mystery, that within longing lies the seed of transformation. Imagine again the quiet lake. The moon is higher now. Its silver stretches farther across the water, rippling softly. You see the faint glow of wings circling. You hear no sound, yet you know they pass. The maidens glide, their feathers brushing the air. They do not linger in one place. They move as dreams move, here, then gone, yet leaving their trace behind. Perhaps their forms are not only swans, not only women. Perhaps they are also the mist that drifts across fields. Perhaps they are also the white petals that fall into rivers. Perhaps they are the memory of every moment that felt like both loss and beauty at once. The swan maidens belong to thresholds, and so do dreams. They carry you from waking into rest, from thought into silence, from the weight of the day into the weightlessness of night. When you drift, you too become like them. Lighter, softer, untethered, your mind folds its feathered robe around you. Your body lies still, but your spirit moves free, gliding across the dark. Long ago, people carved swans upon stones. They painted them upon the walls of caves. They etched them into silver and gold, not only for beauty, but for remembrance. The swan was a guide, a messenger, a creature who could pass between the seen and unseen, the known and the unknowable. To dream of a swan was to dream of change. To hear its cry was to feel the nearness of the spirit. To follow its wings was to follow the way into mystery. The swan maidens remind us that all things change form. Water becomes mist, mist becomes rain. Rain becomes river, and river becomes sea. So too does the soul. So too do you. You are never only one thing. You are body and breath. You are memory and hope. You are earth and sky, joined in one quiet moment of being. Let the image of the maidens rest with you now. See them by the lake, their robes folded like snow. See them lift their faces to the moon, their eyes shining with distant knowing. See them spread their wings soft and white. See them rise and vanish into the stillness of the night. Their flight is not an ending. It is a return to freedom, to wholeness, to the endless sky that welcomes them home. As you lie here, drifting, feel the same return within yourself. A return to peace, a return to silence, a return to the deep waters of rest that wait beneath the surface of your thoughts. The swan maidens glide above. Their feathers scatter like falling stars. Their wings stir the night air with gentleness. Their presence blesses the dream you are entering now. Let the lake close again, smooth and calm. Let the reeds sway quietly. Let the stars keep their gentle watch. The swan maidens have passed, but their memory stays. In your breath, in your heart, in the stillness of this night. So let us drift onward. Let the dreams rise like wings, and now rest as the stars return. The night has grown deeper. The hush of the world spreads wide, like a soft cloak draped over the earth. The winds have quieted, the trees stand still, and the only sound is the slow rhythm of your own breath. Above, the sky opens like an endless ocean of black silk. On it, the stars are scattered, tiny lanterns glowing with steady patience. They shine not with haste, but with calm. Not with fire, but with gentle light. Each star is ancient. Each carries a story. And among them, there are those who have always been remembered as mothers. Mothers not of one child, but of nations, of wanderers, of every soul who has ever lifted their gaze toward the night sky in search of guidance. The Star Mothers. Their names change across the lands, but their presence does not. They are seen in constellations, in stories, in whispers told by firelight. They are the ones who nurse the heavens, who cradle the night, who guide travelers across dark seas and long deserts. In some tales, they appear as queens of the sky, crowned with diadems of light. In others, they are soft-faced women, their arms outstretched, gathering the lost like children returned home. Always, their presence is nurturing, steady, eternal. When ancient people looked up, they saw not cold points of fire, but faces. Not distance, but closeness. The stars were mothers, watching with eyes that never closed, guarding with hands that never tired. Close your eyes now and imagine a desert long ago. The sands lie silver in the glow of moonlight. A caravan rests. The fires are small, their smoke curling into the night. Men and women, weary from travel, tilt their heads back and breathe the sky. There, the constellations gleam. The Great Mother, drawn across the heavens in long curves of light. Her arms stretch wide, her robe woven from dust of stars. To the wanderers below, she is no distant figure. She is their compass, their assurance that the path continues, even when the sands swallow the footprints behind them. And so they whisper prayers into the night, not only to gods of war or rain, but to the mothers above, the eternal ones who guide without judgment, who shine without rest. The Greeks spoke of Leto, mother of radiant Apollo and gentle Artemis. Her story begins with hardship, yet ends in light. When her children were born, they too became tied to the heavens, sun and moon, golden and silver, eternal companions. And so, in every dawn and every dusk, Leto's presence is remembered. She is the Star Mother, hidden in her children's glow. In Egypt, there was Nut, the great sky goddess. She arched her body over the earth, her skin a tapestry of stars. Every evening she swallowed the sun. Every dawn she gave birth to it again. She was both womb and sky, both mother and shelter, cradling the cosmos in her endless embrace. And in other places, far from the Nile, far from the Aegean shores, people spoke of their own mothers of the sky. Some named them after birds, with wings stretched wide across constellations. Others saw them as women carrying pitchers of eternal water, pouring rivers of starlight across the heavens. All spoke with reverence. All looked upward and felt the safety of a mother's gaze. Stars are not only fixed in the heavens, they move through time, carrying stories across centuries. One star rises, another fades, but the constellations remain, like great tapestries woven again and again. The star mothers remind us of this truth, that though the forms may change, the care does not. Though the stories shift, the guidance is unbroken. What shines above has always been, and always will be, a gentle hand stretched across the dark. Think now of a child lying beneath an open sky. The child does not yet know the names of the stars, does not know their distances, their ages, their burning cores. The child only knows their glow, steady and calm. The child feels safe. The child drifts to sleep, trusting the lights above to keep watch. This is how the ancients felt. This is how travelers felt. This is how you too may feel. For the stars still shine with that same quiet patience, still watching, still mothering. The Pleiades, the seven sisters, are perhaps the most tender of these stories. In Greece, they were daughters of the sky god Atlas and the sea nymph Pleione. Pursued and hunted, they were lifted into the heavens by divine mercy. There, they became a cluster of soft stars, close together, always side by side. Sailors watched for them. Farmers marked their seasons by their rising and setting. For many, they were not only stars, but mothers of time itself, keepers of when to sow, when to reap, when to travel, when to rest. Even now, their cluster glimmers faintly in the night, like a gathering of sisters, their arms entwined, whispering comfort to those below. The star mothers do not speak in words. Their language is light, their sentences are long arcs drawn across blackness. Their stories are told in patterns that repeat again and again, until the heart remembers them without effort. They teach without instructing. They comfort without touch. They remind without command. Their gift is presence, unfailing, unblinking, steady. Imagine yourself now upon a quiet shore. The sea lies dark, rippling only a little, like breath upon silk. The horizon is wide, endless. Above, the stars open their map. Each light is a marker, each constellation a story. And all together, they are a net of care spread across the night. The star mothers lean close. You cannot see their faces clearly, yet you feel them. Their hands brush against your spirit, like the softest breeze. They remind you that you are never alone, that above every road, above every sea, above every resting bed, there are eyes of light watching, guiding, blessing. In Hindu stories, the goddess Aditi is called the Infinite Mother. She is the mother of the gods, the mother of space itself. Her children are the bright ones, the Adityas, shining across the heavens. Her presence is endless sky, without boundary, without end. In her, the stars find their shelter, as children resting in their mother's lap. In the far north, the people looked up and spoke of goddesses who wove the lights of the aurora across the sky. The shimmering green and silver were their veils, their garments, their dancing robes. To see them was to feel the nearness of the divine, the comfort of a mother's song made visible. And so, across every land, in every age, the heavens carried not only the image of power, but also the tenderness of mothers. They were eternal, not because they ruled, but because they watched, because they held, because they guided. You may close your eyes now and picture them, a vast sky and within it women of light, their hair flowing like rivers of stars, their arms wide, gathering every weary soul, their eyes gentle, watching without end. They do not demand, they do not vanish, they remain, patient, luminous, eternal. The star mothers are not distant gods, they are near. Their light touches your skin even now. Their care enters your breath even now. Their lullaby is sung in silence even now. Let the sky hold you as it has always held the earth. Let the stars soothe you as they have soothed every traveler, every child, every dreamer who came before. Let the star mothers remind you that you are guided, you are safe, you are never alone beneath the night. The hour grows late. The stars remain steady, unblinking. The earth rests, and so may you. The star mothers are above, shining without haste. Their arms cradle the world. Their light brushes against your dreams. Let us drift onward. Let the constellations become pillows of rest. Let the heavens close softly, like gentle eyelids, and now rest as the stars return. The night is quiet. A soft veil of silver moonlight rests upon the earth. The air moves slowly, as though carrying secrets from long ago. In this stillness, the story begins, a story of the rose, a flower that has whispered through temples, through gardens, through prayers, and through the hidden language of the soul. The rose is more than a flower. It is a symbol that lingers across faiths and mythologies, always carrying two truths, the beauty of its bloom and the sharp warning of its thorn. In this balance, people of old found wisdom. And tonight, that wisdom drifts gently toward you, like fragrance carried by the evening wind. Long ago, in quiet desert lands, mystics told stories of the rose. They said its petals unfolded like the heart, layer upon layer, soft yet strong, fragile yet eternal. To gaze upon it was to remember that beauty can live in silence. The rose did not shout. It did not demand. It simply opened itself and the world leaned closer. But always, at the edge of each stem, there lived the thorn. Sharp, silent, waiting, it guarded the bloom, not with cruelty, but with truth. For beauty in this world is never without its test. Joy is always touched by shadow. Light is always softened by night. The thorn was not an enemy. It was the keeper of balance. In the gardens of ancient Persia, poets wandered among roses. They saw in the petals the promise of divine love, and in the thorn the reminder of longing. One poet spoke of the rose as the soul, forever reaching toward the beloved, but forever brushed by the thorn of distance. To love deeply, they said, is to know both sweetness and ache. The rose taught them that both belong, and so, under starlight, they carried the flower in their songs. Elsewhere, in temples of Greece, the rose was placed upon altars to the goddess of love. It was said that from her tears roses first bloomed. Yet even in her gifts there remained the thorn, as if to say, even the gods knew sorrow. Even beauty is bound to earth. The rose has always been close to women, to mothers, to daughters, to brides. It has been carried in hands, woven into hair, laid gently upon graves. The flower was never only for joy, nor only for grief. It belonged to both. It whispered in its fragrance that one cannot separate the two. Some called the rose the blood of saints. Some saw in it the blush of dawn. Some touched its petals and thought of paradise. But always the thorn remained like a small shadow beside the light. Not to harm, but to remind. Imagine now a quiet garden at twilight. The air is warm. The earth smells of rain. You walk slowly, your steps falling upon soft soil. Around you, roses open in the fading light. Their petals hold the last color of the day. Deep red, gentle pink, and pale white like breath itself. You reach for one bloom. Your fingers brush the softness, silk, upon skin. But then, a slight sting, the thorn beneath the leaf. It does not cut deeply. It only reminds you, every treasure must be touched with care. Every joy must be held with awareness. You draw back, not in fear but in understanding. The garden continues to breathe. The rose also traveled into sacred texts. In the mystic paths of the Middle Ages, scholars spoke of the mystic rose, a symbol of divine unfolding. To them, the petals were steps of wisdom, drawing closer and closer to the eternal center. Yet the thorn was also there, a test of patience, a lesson in endurance. Only those who accepted both could walk the path with peace. To some, the thorn was suffering. To others, it was protection. But all agreed, without the thorn, the rose could not be whole. Without pain, there can be no depth to joy. Without night, the morning star would not shine so brightly. There is a quiet truth here, resting as gently as moonlight on water. The rose is not only about beauty, it is about harmony. Petal and thorn, joy and sorrow, love and longing. Together they make the flower complete. Think of your own life as a rose. There are moments of fragrance, days that open like blossoms, soft and welcoming. And there are moments of thorn, days that sting, days that ask you to pause, to move gently. But both belong to the same stem. Both belong to the same whole. In some ancient cults, devotees carried roses into their ceremonies. The petals were cast upon sacred waters, floating like prayers. The thorns were gathered too, laid upon the altar as if to say, take both. Not only beauty, not only pain. Take the fullness of life. Candles burned. Incense rose. And the rose itself became a symbol of surrender. To hold the rose was to accept all that life brings. To carry it was to walk with open eyes. In this way, the rose became not only a flower, but a teacher. Let the image rest in your mind now. A single rose in the night, its petals glowing faintly in moonlight, its thorn hidden beneath. It does not hurry to open. It does not hide its sharpness. It simply exists in balance, like the stars above, like the rhythm of your breath, like the flow of time itself. You too carry petals. You too carry thorns. And both are sacred. Both are part of the story. Without one, the other cannot shine. The rose whispers this secret softly as the night deepens around it, and so let the chapter close. Let the garden grow quiet. Let the petals fold back into rest. Let the thorns rest in silence, not as threats, but as gentle guardians. The rose remains, eternal in its lesson. Now let the stars return. Let the night cradle you. The rose and the thorn drift into memory, a symbol of balance, a symbol of peace. And as your breath slows, you move gently toward sleep, carrying with you the fragrance of the flower, the wisdom of its thorn, and the calm harmony of both. Rest now, for the rose will keep watch. The night deepens. Shadows stretch long and quiet across the earth. The stars lean close, their silver glow resting softly upon the world. All is hushed, as though the heavens themselves are listening. In this stillness, a doorway opens, a doorway into the myths of the underworld. Here, the air is cool and heavy. Here, the threshold between life and death is not feared, but honored, for many believed it was guarded by sacred women, guides who held the lanterns of passage. They stood not as figures of terror, but as mothers of shadow, as sisters of night, watching over the souls who drifted from one shore to the next. The ancients whispered of these guardians, their voices carried in temple chants and fireside tales. To the Greeks, the underworld was not only darkness, it was a place of quiet order. There stood Persephone, queen of the deep, her crown woven of pomegranate seeds, her gaze both tender and strong. Half the year she walked among blossoms, but half the year she dwelled below, keeping balance between light and shadow. She was not only captive, she was a guardian. Her presence a promise that even in the dark, life still listens. In Egypt, too, the soul journeyed into shadow. The Nile's flowing waters were seen as a mirror of the great passage. There, at the gates of the underworld, the goddess Nephthys stood. Her arms were wings of protection. She was called the mourner, yet also the guide. It was she who whispered over the silent, her voice carrying like wind through reeds. Beside her, the soul felt not fear, but gentle welcome, as if entering the arms of a mother long known. Her sister Isis, the great mother goddess, walked too in that realm. With her words of magic, she bound together the broken. She lifted the soul toward remembrance. Together, Isis and Nephthys formed a circle of care, ensuring that no spirit drifted alone into the night. Far to the north, in lands of ice and fire, the old stories told of Hel, the keeper of the underworld. Her hall was not of torment, but of rest for those who did not die in battle. Her face was said to be half light and half shadow, as if she herself was the mirror of existence. She was feared, yet also honored, for she welcomed the countless souls, giving them a place in her quiet halls. Her presence reminded the living that death was not a punishment, but a return, a homecoming to silence. She was not cruel, but steady, a guardian of balance in the great cycle. In other tales, the guardians were not queens, but priestesses, women who stood at the tombs, tending lamps of oil, singing low hymns that eased the passage of the dead. They were unseen, yet deeply felt. Their hands touched the air with blessing. Their voices softened the weight of grief. Those who mourned found comfort in their presence, believing that these watchers at the threshold would carry prayers down into the quiet realms. The underworld itself was never only darkness. It was a place of silence, of still waters, of soil heavy with roots and memory. Here seeds slept until spring. Here ancestors waited in calm. To step into the underworld was not to be lost. It was to return to the deep heart of being. And the guardians, the women of shadow and light, stood as companions along the way. Some myths spoke of them carrying torches. Others described them as birds, wings unfolding in the night, leading souls across unseen rivers. In every vision, they were guides of tenderness, never leaving the traveler alone. Imagine now a soul at the edge of death. The body lies quiet, the breath has slowed, and the world above grows dim. Yet in that moment of crossing, the guardians appear. Perhaps it is Persephone, her hand outstretched, her voice as soft as falling petals. Perhaps it is Nephthys, her wings wrapping close. Perhaps it is Hel, her gaze both firm and calm. Whoever it may be, the soul feels no fear. The passage is guided, gentle as a river, flowing to the sea. Even in the Christian mystic traditions, there were whispers of holy women who guided souls in prayer. Saints who became intercessors. Mothers who, in vision, stood at the edge of light and shadow. They too were guardians, their prayers like bridges, their love like a lamp in the night. And so across cultures, across centuries, the pattern repeats. Women as keepers of thresholds, protectors of souls, voices in the silence. The ancients did not see death as an end. They saw it as a doorway. And every doorway needs its keeper. Without the guardians, the journey might seem cold. But with them, the passage became sacred. The soul was not cast adrift, but welcomed, guided, embraced. The guardians remind us even now that shadow need not mean fear. Silence need not mean absence. The unknown is softened when met with a gentle hand. Let this vision rest in your heart. Picture the stillness of the underworld, a place not of terror, but of peace. A vast cavern where rivers flow like glass, a hall where soft lights flicker, where footsteps make no sound. And there, at every turn, a guardian waits, not to bind, not to wound, but to walk beside. You drift through this place in safety. You feel the calm of their presence. The journey is slow, like a lullaby carried on dark waters. And at the end of every path, there is always light. The guardians of the underworld are eternal. Their faces change with each culture, but their essence remains. They are protectors, guides, mothers of the threshold. They remind us that even in endings there is care. Even in silence, there is song. So let the chapter close now like a gate that swings softly shut. Let the night deepen. Let the stars watch from above. The guardians remain in the shadowed halls, their lanterns glowing faintly, their voices whispering through the still air. Rest now, for the path is safe. Rest, for the guardians keep watch. And as sleep gathers, know that you too are guided, carried in gentle arms across the quiet rivers of night. The night unfolds with gentle patience. Moonlight rests upon the earth, silver and still. The stars drift like quiet lanterns across a velvet sky. The air carries a soft hush, as if the world itself is breathing slowly, settling into calm. And in this softened hour, the sound of water arises. At first it is faint, a whisper, a murmur, the voice of a hidden spring. Then it gathers, flowing in streams and rivers, in wells carved deep into the earth. Water, ancient and eternal, has always been the medicine of the soul. Long ago, people bowed before the waters. They saw rivers as mothers, wells as wombs, springs as the breath of the earth. And at the heart of these waters stood women, guardians of the flow. They tended the wells. They sang beside the springs. They blessed the river so that both body and spirit might be renewed. In the Celtic lands, stories tell of sacred wells. There was the well of Bridget, belonging to the goddess of healing and fire. Her waters were said to cure sickness, to ease pain, to lift sorrow. Pilgrims would kneel, hands cupped, eyes closed, drinking the cool water as if drinking light. And in the silence, they felt her presence. Bridget was not far. She was the stream itself, the living current. At her wells, ribbons were tied to trees. Prayers whispered into cloth fluttered with the wind, resting between earth and sky. Every ribbon a petition, every droplet a blessing. The well was not only water, it was a mirror of the soul's thirst and the promise of its healing. In Greece, too, sacred springs were known. The waters of Castalia, flowing near Delphi, were tended by priestesses. Those who came to seek wisdom first bathed in the spring, for purity of body opened the way to clarity of spirit. The water was not mere cleansing. It was remembrance. It washed away the dust of travel, the heaviness of thought, and left the seeker light enough to hear the voice of the oracle. And in the desert lands, water was even more precious, a gift that could mean survival. Wells were dug deep, and often they were cared for by women who gathered daily, their jars balanced upon their heads. Stories grew around these wells. They were places of meeting, of promise, of blessing. To drink from a well was to share in its holiness, to touch the hidden rivers beneath the ground, to taste the patience of the earth. The ancients spoke of rivers as more than geography. They were living spirits. The Ganges, beloved in India, was called Mother. She was both goddess and river, a flowing thread between heaven and earth. Her waters washed away not only dust but sorrow. They carried prayers like boats floating upon the endless current. To step into her stream was to step into blessing, to feel forgiveness running cool against the skin, and so mothers, daughters, and priestesses tended her banks, pouring offerings, singing hymns, weaving human love into her eternal flow. Water, across all lands, was known as the healer, not because it was strong, but because it was gentle. It wore down stone without violence. It carried roots without judgment. It held reflections without clinging. And women, keepers of its mysteries, saw themselves in it. For like water, they carried life. Like water, they soothed pain. Like water, they offered renewal without demand. Imagine now a pilgrim approaching a spring at dusk. The air is cool. The ground is soft with moss. Candles flicker, their flames mirrored in the pool's surface. A woman stands by the water, her hands folded in blessing. She speaks no word, but her presence is calm. The pilgrim kneels, dipping hands into the pool. The water is cold, but the cold is comfort. It seeps into the skin, down to the bones, as if carrying away the weight of years. And for a moment, there is peace. Quiet, complete. In every culture, these waters appeared. Sacred springs, healing wells, rivers of blessing. Sometimes they cured sickness. Sometimes they carried visions. Sometimes they simply gave rest to a weary heart. Always they returned, again and again, a flowing thread through time. The guardians of the waters did not command. They tended. They waited. They listened. They let the water do its work. For water teaches by its own being. Soft yet strong, humble yet eternal. Close your eyes and you can hear it now. The murmur of a hidden spring. The slow rhythm of a river. The echo of a well cool and deep. The sound is like a lullaby, ancient and kind. It gathers you in its current, carrying you gently. No effort is needed. You float, light as a leaf, cradled by the flow. The waters are healing you too, not with sudden force, but with steady calm. Every drop is rest. Every ripple is renewal. The stream knows the way. It carries you onward, without hurry, without end. The healing waters remind us that renewal is always near. It may come as rain upon the roof, as dew upon the grass, as tears upon the cheek. It may come as memory, as silence, as sleep. It flows in many forms, yet always it flows. And those who tend the waters, the women of spring and river, are still with us. They stand unseen at the edges of our lives, blessing the moments we pause, blessing the sips of rest we take. They remind us to drink deeply, to let go, to trust the current. Now the candles fade, their flames bowing low. The water glimmers one last time, like silver glass beneath the moon. The night grows softer, the stars hum overhead. The river continues, endless and sure, and you drift with it, safe in its current, guided by unseen hands. Let us drift onward. Let the waters carry us into sleep. Now rest as the stars return and the healing waters flow forever. Night has deepened. The sky above is a canvas of endless dark velvet. On it rest countless stars, quiet, steady, glowing like gentle lanterns in an eternal temple. The air is still. The world waits in silence, as if listening. You float here, just beyond the weight of waking life, soft as a drifting leaf, safe as a candle shielded from the wind. In this stillness a story rises, like a slow flame catching light. It is a tale of crowns not made of gold or stone, but woven from the quiet brilliance of the heavens. It is the story of women crowned with stars. They were seen across many lands in whispers of myth, in songs sung by firesides, in carvings on temple walls. These women were not only rulers of earth, but bridges between heaven and soil. Their crowns were not jewels, but constellations, lights that never faded, symbols of grace that guided both kings and commoners. In ancient Sumer, long before memory had form, there was the goddess Inanna. She was spoken of as radiant, her head adorned with the glow of Venus, the star that rose with dawn and returned at dusk. People looked to her as both fierce and tender, a queen of heaven whose crown was the endless sky. Her star shone above the desert, steady in the silence, a promise that light would always return even after the longest night. And in Greece, far to the west, there were stories of Ariadne, the maiden left upon the shore. The god of wine, Dionysus, lifted her grief and placed upon her brow a crown, but it was no crown of earthly matter. He cast it into the heavens. The crown became a constellation, a circlet of stars resting forever in the night. What had been sorrow was turned into light. What had been loneliness was turned into eternity. Each tale shares the same truth, that a crown of stars is not for power alone. It is a sign of guidance. It is a gift of calm. It is a reminder that human lives, though brief as falling rain, are touched by something endless. Imagine yourself now walking through a garden at night. The air is cool. A stream runs gently beside the path. The leaves above stir with a breeze so soft that it sounds like a whispered prayer. And above, high above, a crown of stars glimmers. It seems to rest not only upon the sky, but upon your very being. The ancients believed that rulers were chosen not only by people, but by the heavens themselves. A crown of stars was a way of saying you are part of the eternal dance. You are held by the universe. You are never apart from the greater whole. Far in the north, among the quiet lands of the Norse, women too were seen with crowns of starlight. Freya, the goddess of love and beauty, was said to shine with jewels that caught the sky's fire. Necklaces of gold, yes, but around her too, a brightness of stars as though the night itself bowed to her. Warriors prayed to her before battle. Farmers prayed to her before planting. Mothers whispered her name before sleep. Her crown was not only beauty, but protection, a starlit veil that stretched across the people she watched. In Egypt, where the Nile wound like a ribbon of eternity, the goddess Hathor was honored. She wore a crown shaped like the sun between horns, but above her was also the Milky Way, seen as her body arching over the earth. She was both mother and sky, both river and star. To see her crown was to remember that every sip of water, every beam of sunlight, every twinkle above the desert was her gift. When the people of these lands lifted their eyes to the heavens, they saw not cold and distant fire, but a crown of guidance. Each star was a jewel in the diadem of the divine. Each cluster was a reminder that the universe itself leans close, rests its hand upon the earth, and blesses those who live here. You drift in that thought now. The air grows even more still. Your breath is calm, gentle, in and out, like the slow rhythm of an ancient drum heard across a valley. With each breath, the stars above seem nearer, their light softening, resting gently upon your brow. In Celtic lands, the stories were told of Brigid, a goddess of fire, poetry, and healing. On certain nights when the sky was clear and the stars unbroken by cloud, people said she wore a crown of flame and light. Not flame that burned, but flame that warmed, like the glow of a hearth in winter. Her crown was also the dawn, the first star fading into the sun, a promise that day would come. To call her name beneath starlight was to feel safe, as though guarded by the heavens themselves. And so the tales return again and again, women crowned with stars, their role both earthly and celestial. Queens of villages, guardians of rivers, mothers of nations, keepers of wisdom. Their crowns did not weigh them down. They lifted them up, like wings of light, like the night's embrace. You may imagine yourself now beneath a vast sky. It is midnight, yet no fear stirs. The earth is calm. The waters are still. Above you, a crown of stars takes shape. Perhaps it rests upon your head. Perhaps it hovers just above. A circle of radiance. A gift from the eternal. It asks nothing. It simply shines. It simply reminds you that you are part of something greater. The ancients looked at the stars and saw maps, stories, symbols. But deeper than that, they saw comfort. They saw the steady return of light. They saw crowns that never broke, never rusted, never faded. So let the stars be your crown tonight. Let them rest above you, quiet and soft. You need not reach for them. They are already here. They have always been here, guiding, shining, crowning not only queens of old, but every soul who lifts their eyes to the sky. The garden grows still now. The river hums with a lullaby. The wind folds into silence, and the crown of stars remains endless, unshaken, like a gentle guardian. Rest, then, in this vision. Let it cradle you as night deepens. Let it soften your mind and ease your breath. The women of old walk beside you, their crowns shimmering above, their grace lingering in the quiet. You are safe. You are guided. You are crowned with the same light that once shone upon desert sands, upon frozen fjords, upon hidden groves. Now the story falls into silence, like a candle dimming but never gone. The stars remain. The crown remains. The night carries you forward. Let us drift onward. Let the crown of stars rest above you. Now rest as the stars return. The night is deep now. The stars have grown steady, their light no longer sharp, but softened, as though wrapped in veils of silver mist. The air carries only the faintest whisper of wind, like a breath drawn slowly through a temple hall. The world is hushed, waiting, resting, returning to silence. You drift here, half in dream, half in memory. The path you have walked has been long, carried by stories, by voices older than time. You have wandered among rivers and crowns, through gardens and deserts, through lands lit by moonlight and guided by sacred hands. And now, the journey bends back upon itself. It circles, it closes gently, and it comes home to the stillness where it first began. In the beginning, before words, there was only silence. Not emptiness, but fullness, too vast to be spoken. It was the silence of a womb, holding all that would come. It was the silence of night before the first bird sang. It was the silence between two heartbeats, so brief, yet so infinite. The women of light, those who guarded rivers, who crowned the heavens, who walked between shadow and dawn, fade now into this silence. They do not vanish, but rest like echoes folded into the dark. Their voices are still here, woven into the breath of the night. Their footsteps are in the dust, their songs in the stars, their hands in the flowing water. Yet all grows quiet, all grows soft, all grows still. Long ago in the temples of Egypt, priests spoke of Maat, the goddess of truth and balance. She was not loud, she was not fierce. She was the gentle order that held the world together. Silence was her crown, calm was her gift. For in silence, truth could be heard. In silence, balance could be felt. To sit in silence was to sit with her, to rest in her embrace. And in India, sages told of the goddess Saraswati, the river of wisdom. She was known for music, for poetry, for learning. Yet even she, in her deepest form, was silence itself. For silence is the ground from which every song rises, the page upon which words are written, the breath before the first sound. Silence was not seen as emptiness. It was the source. It was the mother. It was the place to which all things return. Imagine now a vast lake at night. The surface is still, so still that it mirrors the sky above. Stars rest upon the water, floating like blossoms of light. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of earth and stone. No bird stirs, no branch moves. It is silence so deep that you can almost hear the rhythm of your own soul, beating quietly, steadily, like a drum hidden beneath the world. You sit at the edge of this lake. The women of the stories are near, though faint, like shadows lit only by memory. They do not speak, they simply are. Their presence is the silence. Their love is the stillness. In Greece, there was a word for sacred quiet, hesychia. It was the silence sought by monks, the silence that brought the soul close to the divine. Not a silence of absence, but a silence alive with presence. It was the hush of twilight, the calm of mountains, the pause in prayer when words fall away and only breath remains. So too in many lands, silence was the doorway. The Celts walked into groves and felt the silence of trees like an unseen crown. The Norse looked upon snowy fields where silence lay heavy, a blanket that softened all things. In China, sages rested in silence to hear the Tao, the flow of life that could not be captured in sound. Across all places, silence was known. Silence was honored. Silence was loved. The journey of stories, the women crowned in myth and memory, have been like rivers flowing outward. Each tale a stream, each vision a current, but now the streams gather. They return to the source. They return to silence, as every river returns to the sea, and you too drift back. Your breath is slow. Your body is light. Each thought that rises fades again into quiet. Like leaves sinking into still water, they fall and dissolve. They trouble nothing. They leave only calm. Listen to the silence now. It has its own song. It hums like stars too far to be seen. It glows like the space between candle flames. It holds you gently, like arms that never tire. The divine women are gone, but not gone. They have become the silence itself. The guardian at the river, the healer by the spring, the queen crowned with starlight. All are folded into the night. You do not need to call them. They are here. They are the stillness that wraps you. They are the peace that covers you. They are the silence that holds you. And so this chapter ends where the first began, not in noise, not in story, but in the quiet heart of all things. The silence is the mother. The silence is the crown. The silence is the water that heals, the star that guides, the breath that comforts. Now, rest in it. Rest in the silence that has no end. You are safe. You are held. You are already home. Let us drift onward. Let us return to the silence. Now rest as the stars return and only peace remains.